obviously you're working in a business, and then like who says to you like, hey, I have an idea that we should now sell cups, right?
Yeah,
like,
how did this all come to?
Right, yeah.
Well, it's so funny. Like the way that the business started, there were two guys that I had worked with for several years. I'd known both of them for more than a decade, and they worked underneath me in this organization with my brother. And they just kind of approached me one day. We went out to lunch. They just said, hey, would you be willing to just do a side project with us? We love working with you, and it'd be fun, and we could sell things online. And that was really like, it was not this kind of visions, grandiose visions. It was just kind of like, hey, it'd be fun to do a side project. And all we knew was, hey, we want to do something in e-commerce because we have really deep expertise there. We want to make really good product. And we want to start by selling on Amazon. That was it. That was the extent. Oh, and I think the other thing is we really had a sense of like culturally what we would want it to be about, as big or small as it ended up being. And we started out by making a list of like all these products that we could sell. And I've pulled that list up in in recent months, and it's just, there's a bunch of just terrible ideas on there, like ideas where it's like compost bins. Like if we had picked compost bins as like our product of choice, we were probably not doing this podcast. But we had a couple of good ideas on there, and we were fortunate enough as we went out and started getting samples on some of our ideas to find a really outstanding manufacturing partner internationally that made our product type. And this is right when, Yeti is really kind of coming onto the scene with their stainless steel tumblers, and Hydro Flask is really starting to grow. And so like the timing was really good. What we found is the timing was kind of right. It was just a fantastic product. Like the first time you have something with vacuum insulation, it feels kind of like magic. It's like, okay, how in the world does this work? How is it the ice not melting? And but all of our competitors were really focused on physical retail. There wasn't really a big brand that had really seriously focused on Amazon. Yeah. And so we thought, hey, this is an opportunity. It started with us buying, I think, literally like 500 bottles and listing them on Amazon. And early on, we had just enough success that it was like, okay, I think we're onto something. And it basically started this process of we'd get inventory in, we would sell through it. Yeah. We'd have to place a reorder, and every reorder I would feel like you kind of go through this emotional roller coaster. Like we'd get the inventory in, and I'd say, man, this is selling fast. We need to buy more. Okay, let's be aggressive. We weren't aggressive enough last time. Let's be aggressive. Okay, we're going to buy this much. Place a purchase order that night. I wake up, I've made a huge mistake. Like I'm going to bankrupt myself, and then the inventory gets in and it's like, oh man, we didn't buy enough. And then you just rinse and repeat. And imagine doing that for, several years. But that was how we kind of got off the ground. One of the really atypical things about how we started the company, the first 10 people I hired, there was only one that I hadn't known for at least a decade. And part of the thought process there was, it's one thing to say, hey, these are our values and this is what we want to be about. A lot of people will hear the things that we lay out as like what we want the company to be about, and we'll say, well, that sounds great. Yeah. Like who wouldn't want to, work that way? Right. But it's one thing to say like, hey, in a vacuum, that sounds great. It's another thing to have actually lived it out. And so, especially early on, had this incredibly high bar of, I want to hire people where I've actually know them and have seen this demonstrated in their life. And that was kind of the first year of the company getting up and off the ground. And then, over time, we start to really develop a following on Amazon. We go to, Target and say, hey, listen, your customer, they're buying us. They're just not buying us in Target. They're buying us on Amazon. And this was during a period where all the retailers were just terrified of Amazon. Maybe they still are. I don't know. Amazon's, it's quite a business. But Target thought it was compelling, and we got into Target, and then things. It's like the snowball analogy. It just really started to pick up steam, and 6 years later, this is where we are.